have been trying to sketch more and more before I actually start sculpting. I used to sculpt straight from imagination before, but I found that if I explore shapes with pencil and paper before I actually get to digital media, things tend to go a lot faster. And by using traditional media, I usually don't settle for my first version. I start over when I don't like something, and that gives more room for happy accidents and lots of different versions for me to reference from. I don't get into concept art territory. I just try a bunch of different things, and I never do a finished drawing because my media of choice is 3D, so that's where I do my finished work. Nowadays, my sculpting process starts with a sphere and the move brush, and I pretty much only use move and smooth and a little bit of a slice here and there. But I get a sphere, I move it into shape with the move brush, and then I duplicate that, and usually I cut with a slicing tool, and I keep going with just pretty much move and smooth, and I duplicate and I do it again. And sometimes I create a new sphere if I find that my shapes are getting a little bit too complicated for me to just duplicate. So in that case, I bring up a new sphere and I squish it down and start moving it around. And you can see I pretty much don't use any drawing on mesh until I'm pretty happy with all the silhouette and proportions. And this type of sculpting, it became more natural for me after I started trying to sculpt in VR, and I saw the benefit of it, of keeping everything separate for as long as I can. So for the entirety of the blocking stage, I pretty much rinse and repeat, right? I do what I've been doing here for the entire body. And you can see I don't have mouth, I don't have eyes. I'm not getting into any details that don't affect the silhouette too much. And I'm looking mostly for shape language and silhouette. This character is the main character for a story that I wrote called The Muse, and he's a writer that's failing to finish his masterpiece, and in order to achieve his dreams, he gave up all things that he considered distraction, including his family, his high-paying job, and even removing all the distractions out of his way, he still can't get it done. So he has nothing else to blame by his lack of success but himself, and he's dealing with that depression. It's not a very happy story, and it's a little bit of a horror situation going on. My plan with this story is to make a 3D rendered graphic novel first, and try to do a Kickstarter with that. If the Kickstarter raises any money, I will use that to finance the animation. If it doesn't, at least I finished a project and took the idea out of my mind. It's out there. If I do raise some money, I will probably hire a couple animators and 2 or 3 voice actors to actually get this done. And I'm pretty excited about the idea of working with people and actually paying people for this. But back to sculpting, you can notice that the only time I used the sculpting brush was on the neck, just to make that crease, and everything else has been moving spheres and tubes around. However, I did use the tube brush, the line tool, to create the arms and legs. But other than that, just moving and smoothing things out. I do get a little bit more sculpty with the fingers and hand in general, just because it kind of needs a little bit more work. And if you pay attention to the body, the pose is kind of wonky, and the proportion is kind of wonky. But that's the beauty about having everything as separate elements and not having anything very refined yet, because I can just move things around and adjust the proportions. And after I have all the elements, that's pretty much what I do before I merge everything. So I think I got a little bit carried away in the hand there, but still very blocky, very early on. And now, like, I have pretty much all the elements except feet. So here we go, making the feet. And after I have everything, I start going back and forward between all the different elements. just pushing the proportions to something that appeals to me a little bit more, and neutralizing the pose to something a little bit more balanced. I'm not looking for a rigging pose like a T pose yet. I just want something a little bit more balanced, and the neck, he got the painter's neck there. And he's going through his midlife crisis, so I thought of giving him a little bit of a pot belly and a messy haircut and everything. As I have all the elements that I think I'm gonna need for now, I start feeling the need to merge everything and start pushing elements together with the move brush instead of individually. So when you see something flashing pink, is because I use the lasso tool to select multiple objects and merging into a single one. That way I can use brushes on multiple objects at the same time, with the caveat that I haven't used the voxel. I'm doing that now. So when you see that grid, is because I'm setting the resolution for the voxel, and here I'm looking at the fingers so they don't melt together. That's as high resolution as I want to take. Just so, same thing with the face, a little bit higher resolution on the face because I know I'm gonna bring the eyes in pretty soon. So blocking stage is pretty much complete. I'm only gonna like start giving a little bit more anatomy, but for this guy, I'm planning on having this as low poly as possible when I start retopology, and working with heavy subdivisions using creases in Blender. So I still playing around with proportions even now, but because I'm planning on keeping this as low poly as possible, I don't want to add too many sculpting details on the mesh. I want to have all the details that would be sculpted just painted in, and that's a stylistic choice not only for the look but to keep things simple for the rig, because I'm rigging the character myself, and I gotta be realistic with my expectations. If the mesh is too heavy and I'm not great at skinning, it's gonna be a lot harder for me, and keeping it simple also makes the blend shapes for the face a little bit easier afterwards. I'm finally like doing more brush work, actually sculpting on the face. The ear, I think I end up redoing the ear afterwards. I'm not happy with how it turned out here, but you can tell that now I have longer pauses just staring at the screen. So I move things a little bit, I sculpt a little bit, and then I just stop and look at it, rotate without doing anything, and keep looking for things to improve. I gotta be careful because the longer I do that, the more rigid it can become, because my mind keeps bringing things closer to reality, right? Like it's to what we're used to expect. So I have to be very intentional. That's why I'm staring at it, because if I just let it flow, it starts becoming more and more realistic, and that's not what I'm going for. So after I sharpen the features on the face a little bit, it's when I'm actually gonna bring the eyes finally. And the reason why I took so long to bring the eyes in is because the way I've been drawing nowadays, I've been doing just shadows for the eyes for most of the drawings, and I decide to draw the eyes after I'm happy with everything else and I want to do the expression. So I've been leaving that for last on drawing, and that's why I'm also trying to do the same for sculpting, so I don't get carried away with just rendering the face over and over. And for the eyes, I bring in a sphere, I duplicate the sphere and inflate a little bit, and then I just carve in the holes for the eye, and I push that around in order to get the eyelids, and pinch the edges with the pinch brush, and off we go, right? Like then it's just shaping things. And I still kept the eyelids as a separate object up to the moment that I exported everything. And the last thing that I do before topology is just change the material a couple times and try to look at with different lightings just to catch some unpolished areas and some things that catch my eye.